The vast expanse of space stretched out before Dr. Elara Nash as she gazed through the viewport of the stellar horizon, Earth's most advanced interstellar vessel. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. After years of searching, they had finally found something extraordinary, a signal from deep space that defied all known patterns of natural phenomena. Ilara's mind wandered back to the day when she first detected the anomaly. She had been working late in her lab at the Interstellar Communication Research Center, poring over data from distant star systems. The signal had appeared suddenly, a burst of coherent energy that pulsed with an almost musical rhythm. It was beautiful, alien, and unmistakably artificial. The discovery had sent shockwaves through the scientific community. After decades of silence, humanity finally had proof that they were not alone in the universe. The signal's origin was traced to a star system nearly 50 light-years from Earth, in a region of space previously thought to be devoid of habitable planets. Now, after 2 years of preparation and a journey that pushed the limits of human technology, Ilara and her crew were about to make history. They were the first humans to venture this far into the unknown, carried by the experimental faster-than-light drive that had been developed in response to the alien signal. "Dr. Nash," a voice crackled over the intercom, pulling Ilara from her reverie. "We're approaching the target system. You might want to see this." Ilara made her way to the bridge, her footsteps echoing through the sleek corridors of the ship. As she entered, the main view screen flickered to life, revealing a breathtaking sight. A golden sun hung in space, its warm light bathing a system of planets. But it was the third planet that caught Ilara's attention, a world of swirling blues and greens, eerily similar to Earth. "It's beautiful," Ilara whispered, her voice filled with awe. Captain Riker nodded in agreement. "We're picking up significant electromagnetic activity from the surface. Whatever sent that signal, it's down there." As the stellar horizon moved into orbit, the crew began their scans of the planet. The atmosphere was breathable, the gravity slightly less than Earth's. Sensors detected large structures on the surface, confirming the presence of an advanced civilization. "We should send a probe," suggested Dr. Chen, the mission's xenobiologist. "We need to ensure it's safe before we consider landing." Ilara shook her head. "No, we came all this way to make contact. We should go down there ourselves." After a heated debate, it was decided that a small team, led by Ilara, would descend to the planet's surface in a shuttle. As they prepared for the landing, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The descent through the alien atmosphere was smooth at first. Ilara watched through the shuttle's windows as they passed through layers of iridescent clouds. But as they neared the surface, something went wrong. Warning alarms blared as the shuttle's systems began to fail. "We're losing power," shouted Lieutenant Torres, the pilot. "Controls aren't responding." Ilara gripped her seat as the shuttle plummeted towards the ground. Through the chaos, she caught glimpses of a landscape below. Rolling hills covered in vegetation that seemed to glow with an inner light. The impact came suddenly. Despite the inertial dampeners, Ilara felt as if every bone in her body had been rattled. As the dust settled, she realized with relief that she was still alive. Looking around, she saw that the other crew members were shaken but largely unharmed. "Is everyone all right?" she called out, receiving a chorus of affirmative responses. As they emerged from the battered shuttle, Ilara's scientific curiosity overtook her fear. The air was filled with a sweet, unfamiliar scent. The plants around them pulsed with bioluminescence, creating a landscape that seemed to breathe with life. "It's incredible," Dr. Chen muttered, already taking samples of the alien flora. But their wonder was short-lived. A rustling in the nearby vegetation caught their attention. Ilara's heart raced as a figure emerged from the glowing foliage. The alien was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like opals in the planet's golden sunlight. Its large, almond-shaped eyes gazed at the humans with an expression that might have been curiosity. Most striking was the creature's inherent bioluminescence. Patterns of light danced across its skin, reminiscent of the plants surrounding them. Ilara stepped forward, her hands raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hello," she said softly, knowing the word wouldn't be understood, but hoping her tone would convey their non-hostile intentions. The alien tilted its head, observing Ilara with those mesmerizing eyes. Then, to everyone's surprise, it raised its own hand in a mirror of Ilara's gesture. A soft, melodious sound emerged from its throat. Not words, but a series of musical tones that seemed to resonate with the very air around them. More aliens emerged from the forest, their bioluminescent patterns creating a symphony of light. They surrounded the humans, but their body language suggested curiosity rather than aggression. One of the aliens, distinguished by more complex light patterns, approached Ilara. It reached out slowly, its slender fingers almost touching Ilara's face. She stood still, her heart pounding, as the alien's fingertips hovered inches from her skin. Suddenly, Ilara felt a tingling sensation in her mind. Images and feelings flooded her consciousness. Flashes of an alien world, glimpses of a civilization in harmony with nature, the wonder of first contact from the alien's perspective. She gasped, overwhelmed by the telepathic connection. As the connection faded, Ilara found herself locking eyes with the alien. In that moment, she understood that this was more than just first contact. It was the beginning of a journey that would change both their species forever. The alien stepped back, its light patterns shifting in what Ilara somehow knew was an expression of welcome. It gestured towards a path leading deeper into the bioluminescent forest. Ilara turned to her team, seeing the mix of fear and excitement on their faces. "I think," she said, her voice filled with wonder, "we've been invited to their home." As they followed their alien hosts into the glowing wilderness, Ilara's mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? What was the purpose of the signal that had led them here? And most importantly, what would this encounter mean for the future of humanity? Little did Ilara know that this was just the beginning of an adventure that would test the limits of human ingenuity, challenge her understanding of the universe, and open her heart to a kind of love she never thought possible. As the golden sun of this alien world began to set, casting the bioluminescent landscape in a breathtaking array of colors, Ilara Nash took her first steps into a new chapter of human history, one that would be written among the stars. Cultural exchange. As Ilara and her team followed their alien hosts through the bioluminescent forest, the landscape around them seemed to pulse with life. The path they walked on emitted a soft glow, responding to their footsteps like ripples on a pond. The air was filled with melodic chirps and trills from unseen creatures, creating an otherworldly symphony. After what felt like hours of walking, they emerged from the forest into a clearing that took their breath away. Before them stood a city unlike anything they had ever seen. Structures that appeared to be made of living crystal spiraled towards the sky, their surfaces shimmering with patterns of light that mirrored the bioluminescence of the surrounding flora. "It's incredible," Dr. Chen whispered, his scientific mind already racing to understand the technology behind such architecture. The aliens led them towards the heart of the city. As they walked, Ilara noticed more of the inhabitants emerging from buildings and gathering along the streets. Their bioluminescent patterns shifted and changed, creating a dazzling display that Ilara realized must be a form of communication. They were brought to a large, dome-shaped building at the center of the city. Inside, the walls were alive with swirling patterns of light. A group of aliens, distinguished by more intricate light patterns, awaited them. One alien stepped forward, its patterns glowing with particular intensity. It reached out towards Ilara, much like the first alien had done in the forest. This time, Ilara was prepared for the mental connection. Images flooded her mind once again, but this time they were clearer, more focused. She saw the history of these beings, whom she now understood called themselves the Luminary. She saw their evolution from simple bioluminescent organisms to the advanced civilization they were now. She felt their deep connection to their world, their reverence for the intricate web of life that surrounded them. As the connection faded, Ilara found herself able to understand the musical tones of the luminary language. The alien before her, who she now knew was called Zira, spoke. "Welcome, travelers from beyond the stars." Zira's tones resonated in Ilara's mind. "We have long awaited this day." Ilara, still reeling from the influx of information, managed to respond. "Thank you for your welcome. We come in peace, seeking to learn and understand." Over the next few days, Ilara and her team were immersed in luminary culture. They learned that the signal that had drawn them to this world was a beacon, sent out by the luminary in hopes of making contact with other intelligent life. Zira, who Ilara learned was a scientist like herself, became their primary guide and teacher. She explained how the luminary had evolved to use bioluminescence not just for communication, but as a source of energy and a means of manipulating their environment. "Our entire civilization is built on the principles of light and harmony," Zira explained as they toured a luminary energy facility. The building housed massive crystals that pulsed with energy, converting the bioluminescence of specially cultivated plants into power for the city. Ilara was fascinated by the luminary's technology, which seemed to blur the line between biology and mechanics. "It's amazing," she said. "On our world, we've often struggled to balance technological progress with environmental preservation, but you found a way to make them one and the same." Zira's patterns flickered in what Ilara had come to recognize as a smile. "It is the foundation of our society. We believe that true progress can only be achieved in harmony with the natural world." As the days passed, Ilara found herself growing closer to Zira. The luminary scientist's curiosity about Earth and human culture matched Ilara's own fascination with the luminary. They spent long hours exchanging knowledge, from the intricacies of human history to the complex ecosystem of the luminary homeworld. One evening, as they watched the planet's twin moons rise over the crystalline city, Zira turned to Ilara with a serious expression. "There is something we must show you," she said, her tones carrying a note of concern that Ilara hadn't heard before. Zira led Ilara to a secluded part of the city, to a building that hummed with energy. Inside, a group of luminary scientists huddled around a large pulsating crystal that displayed what looked like a star map. "What is this?" Ilara asked, sensing the tension in the room. Zira's patterns dimmed slightly. "It is a threat to our world, and perhaps to yours as well." The crystal's display zoomed in on a large object moving through space. With a jolt, Ilara recognized it as an asteroid, and from the trajectory displayed, it was on a collision course with the luminary homeworld. "Our long-range sensors detected it several cycles ago," Zira explained. "We've calculated its path. If it stays on its current trajectory, it will impact our world in less than a local year." Ilara's mind raced with the implications. An asteroid of that size could cause an extinction-level event. "Have you found a way to deflect it?" she asked. Zira's patterns flickered with what Ilara now recognized as frustration and worry. "Our technology is advanced in many ways, but we have never needed to develop the kind of propulsion systems that would be necessary to alter the course of such a large object. We've been searching for a solution, but time is running short." Ilara looked at the asteroid's trajectory again, an idea forming in her mind. The stellar horizon, still in orbit around the planet, was equipped with experimental propulsion technology that might be powerful enough to affect the asteroid's course, but using it would require precise calculations and likely modifications to the ship's systems. She turned to Zira, determination shining in her eyes. "I think we might be able to help, but we'll need to work together." Zira's patterns brightened with hope. "You believe your technology could save our world?" Ilara nodded. "It's not a guarantee, but I think it's possible. We'll need to combine our knowledge, your understanding of this star system, and our propulsion technology." As they began to discuss the possibilities, Ilara felt a surge of excitement. This was why she had become a scientist, why she had embarked on this mission across the stars. Here was a chance not just to learn from an alien civilization, but to work alongside them to solve a monumental problem. But as she looked at Zira, seeing the worry behind the luminary's bioluminescent patterns, Ilara realized something else. In the short time she had known Zira, she had come to care deeply for the alien scientist. The thought of anything happening to Zira or her world filled Ilara with a determination she had never felt before. As they left the building to inform the rest of the human team about the situation, Ilara made a silent promise. She would find a way to save this beautiful world and its people, not just for the sake of scientific achievement or interstellar relations, but for Zira and for the connection that was growing between them. A connection that Ilara was beginning to realize went beyond mere friendship or scientific curiosity. The twin moons cast their soft light over the crystalline city as Ilara and Zira walked side by side, their minds already working on the monumental task ahead. Unknown to both of them, this challenge would not only decide the fate of the luminary world, but would also forge a bond between them that would transcend the boundaries of their different species. As they approached the human team's quarters, Ilara took a deep breath. The next few months would test the limits of human ingenuity and luminary wisdom. But looking at Zira, seeing the determination in her bioluminescent patterns, Ilara felt a spark of hope. Together, they just might be able to save a world. Impending doom. The news of the approaching asteroid sent shockwaves through both the human expedition and luminary society. As Ilara and Zira worked tirelessly to devise a plan, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on everyone's minds. In the days that followed, the stellar horizon became a hub of frantic activity. Captain Riker had initially been skeptical about using their ship for such a risky mission, but Ilara's impassioned plea had won him over. "This is bigger than just our mission, Captain," Ilara had argued. "We have a chance to save an entire civilization. Isn't that why we ventured into space in the first place?" Now, as Ilara stood in the ship's main engineering bay, surrounded by a mix of human crew members and luminary scientists, she felt the enormity of the task before them. The ship's faster-than-light drive, revolutionary as it was, had never been designed for the kind of precision maneuvering they would need to deflect the asteroid. Zira's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with concentration as she studied the holographic display of the stellar horizon's engine. "Your technology is fascinating," she said, her tones tinged with admiration. "But I fear it may not be enough on its own." Ilara nodded, running a hand through her disheveled hair. They had been working for days with little rest. "You're right. We need to find a way to amplify the engine's output without overloading the systems." As they brainstormed, Ilara couldn't help but marvel at how quickly the luminary had grasped the principles of human technology. Zira, in particular, seemed to have an intuitive understanding that went beyond mere intelligence. There was a synergy in their collaboration that Ilara had never experienced before. It was Zira who eventually proposed the breakthrough idea. "What if," she said, her patterns flickering with excitement, "we could integrate some of our bioluminescent energy technology with your propulsion systems?" The suggestion was met with skepticism from some of the human engineers, but Ilara saw the potential immediately. "It could work," she said, her mind already racing with the possibilities. "We could use the luminary crystals to focus and amplify our engine's output." The next weeks were a flurry of activity as they worked to merge the two vastly different technologies. There were setbacks and frustrations, moments when it seemed impossible, but through it all, Ilara and Zira's partnership grew stronger. One evening, as they took a rare break from their work, Ilara found Zira standing alone on one of the ship's observation decks, gazing out at the luminary homeworld below. "It's beautiful," Ilara said softly, moving to stand beside her. Zira's patterns dimmed slightly. "I never truly appreciated its beauty until now, when we faced the possibility of losing it all." Ilara felt a surge of emotion. Without thinking, she reached out and took Zira's hand. The luminary's skin was cool to the touch, and Ilara felt a slight tingling sensation where their hands met. "We're going to save your world, Zira," she said with fierce determination. "I promise you that." Zira turned to look at her, and Ilara saw a depth of emotion in those alien eyes that took her breath away. "Our world," Zira corrected gently. "You and your team have become a part of it now." The moment was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. "Dr. Nash, we're picking up some strange readings from the asteroid." Captain Riker's voice came over the intercom. Rushing to the bridge, Ilara and Zira found the crew gathered around the main view screen. The image showed the approaching asteroid, but something was wrong. Its surface seemed to be shifting. "What are we looking at?" Ilara asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her concern for a moment. Dr. Chen, who had been analyzing the data, looked up with a grim expression. "It's not just a rock. The asteroid, it's alive." The revelation sent shockwaves through both the human and luminary teams. The asteroid was, in fact, a massive space-faring organism, drawn to the luminary world by the same beacon that had attracted the humans. This new information changed everything. Their plan to deflect the asteroid could no longer be a simple matter of altering its trajectory. They would need to find a way to communicate with it, to convince it to change course willingly. "But how do we communicate with something so alien?" one of the luminary scientists asked, their patterns flickering with distress. Ilara and Zira exchanged a look. "We managed to bridge the gap between our species," Ilara said. "Maybe we can do it again." The next phase of their work became a race against time. As the living asteroid drew closer, Ilara and Zira led a team in developing a method of communication. They worked to create a device that could translate the subtle gravitational and electromagnetic fluctuations the creature seemed to use for perception into something akin to the luminaries' bioluminescent language. Days blended into nights as they worked tirelessly. The pressure was immense, and tensions ran high. But through it all, Ilara found herself drawing strength from Zira's unwavering presence. The luminary scientists' calm determination and brilliant insights had become a cornerstone of their efforts. As the deadline loomed ever closer, Ilara realized that her feelings for Zira had grown into something she could no longer ignore. The thought of failing, of losing Zira and her world, was unbearable. Finally, after countless simulations and adjustments, they were ready to test their communication device. The stellar horizon moved into position, as close to the approaching space creature as they dared. In the tense silence of the bridge, Ilara activated the device. A complex series of gravitational pulses and electromagnetic waves emanated from the ship, carrying a simple message of peace and inquiry. For a heart-stopping moment, there was no response. Then suddenly, the creature's surface began to pulse with patterns of light, startlingly similar to luminary bioluminescence. "It's responding," Zira exclaimed, her own patterns glowing with excitement. As they worked to decipher the creature's reply, Ilara felt a glimmer of hope. They had made contact. Now, they just had to convince a giant, living asteroid to change the course it had been on for possibly millennia. Ilara looked at Zira, saw the mix of hope and fear in her alien features, and made a silent vow. No matter what it took, she would find a way to save this world and the being she had come to love. The fate of two species, and perhaps the future of interstellar relations, hung in the balance. But in that moment, all Ilara could think about was the chance for a future with Zira, on this shimmering world that had become her new home. As the space creature's message began to take shape on their screens, Ilara took a deep breath. The real challenge was only just beginning. Race against time. The bridge of the stellar horizon hummed with tense energy as Ilara, Zira, and their team worked feverishly to decipher the living asteroid's response. The creature's bioluminescent pulses were complex, layered with meanings that defied easy translation. "It's expressing curiosity," Zira said, her own patterns flickering rapidly as she interpreted the signals. "But also confusion. I don't think it realizes the danger it poses to our world." Ilara nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We need to make it understand. Can we send visual representations of the impact?" For hours, they worked to refine their communication, sending images, gravitational maps, and electromagnetic pulses to convey the urgency of the situation. The living asteroids' responses were slow, each message taking precious time to reach them across the vast distance of space. As they waited for the latest response, Captain Riker approached Ilara and Zira. "We're running out of time," he said grimly. "If we can't convince this thing to change course soon, we'll have to resort to Plan B." Plan B was their last, desperate option. Using the modified engines of the stellar horizon to forcibly push the asteroid off course. It was risky, with a high chance of destroying both the ship and the living creature. Ilara felt a knot of dread in her stomach. She looked at Zira, seeing her own concern mirrored in the luminary's glowing patterns. "We can't give up," Ilara said firmly. "There has to be a way to make it understand." Suddenly, the ship's sensors lit up with activity. The asteroid was responding, its surface alive with pulsing lights. "It's apologizing," Zira translated, her voice filled with wonder. "It says it didn't know it was causing harm. It's asking how it can help." A wave of relief washed over the bridge. They had done it. They had made the creature understand. But their challenge was far from over. Over the next few days, Ilara and Zira worked tirelessly to guide the living asteroid. It was a delicate process, requiring constant communication and course corrections. The creature's vast size and momentum meant that even small changes in direction required immense energy. As they worked, Ilara found herself constantly in awe of Zira. The luminary scientist's brilliance and compassion shone through in every interaction with the asteroid. She spoke to it not as a threat to be averted, but as a fellow being to be understood and helped. One night, as they took a brief rest in the ship's observation lounge, Ilara found the courage to voice the feelings that had been growing inside her. "Zira," she said softly, "I need to tell you something." The luminary turned to her, bioluminescent patterns swirling with curiosity. "What is it, Ilara?" Ilara took a deep breath. "These past weeks, working with you, getting to know you, I've realized that my feelings for you go beyond friendship or professional admiration. I think I'm falling in love with you." For a moment, Zira was still, her patterns pulsing slowly. Then, to Ilara's amazement, the luminary's skin lit up with a dazzling display of colors. "Oh, Ilara," Zira said, her musical tones filled with emotion. "I've been feeling the same way. I wasn't sure if it was possible, for two beings from such different worlds." Ilara reached out, gently taking Zira's hand. The familiar tingle of their touch seemed to intensify, as if their newfound understanding had strengthened their connection. "I don't know what the future holds," Ilara said, "but I know I want to face it with you." Their moment of connection was interrupted by an urgent alert from the bridge. The asteroid's course was beginning to stabilize, moving safely away from the luminary homeworld. But the effort had taken its toll. The creature's bioluminescent pulses were weakening, its responses becoming sluggish. Rushing back to the bridge, Ilara and Zira found the situation critical. The living asteroid had expended so much energy changing its course that it was now in danger of losing its own life processes. "We can't let it die," Zira said, her patterns flickering with distress. "Not after it willingly changed course to save our world." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "Maybe we can use the ship's engines to give it a boost, help it regain its momentum." The plan was risky. Using the stellar horizon's engines in such close proximity to the asteroid could damage both the ship and the creature. But they had no other choice. As they maneuvered the ship into position, Ilara felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. They were attempting something never before tried in human or luminary history, using a starship to save a living asteroid. Initiating engine sequence, Captain Riker announced, his voice tense. The ship shuddered as its engines fired, directing a carefully calibrated stream of energy towards the asteroid. On the view screen, they watched as the creature's bioluminescence flickered, then slowly began to strengthen. For several heart-stopping minutes, they held their breath, watching the readings fluctuate. Then, gradually, the asteroid's life signs began to stabilize. Its course continued to move away from the luminary homeworld, but now with renewed strength and purpose. A cheer went up on the bridge. They had done it. They had saved both the luminary world and the living asteroid. As the tension of the moment subsided, Ilara turned to Zira. The luminary scientist's patterns were glowing with joy and relief. Without hesitation, Ilara pulled her into an embrace, not caring who saw. "We did it," Ilara whispered. "We really did it." Zira's response was to glow even brighter, her bioluminescence creating a dazzling display that seemed to Ilara the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. As the stellar horizon began its return journey to the luminary homeworld, Ilara knew that everything had changed. They had not only averted a catastrophe, but had also opened up new possibilities for interstellar understanding and cooperation. And on a personal level, Ilara had found something she never expected when she set out on this mission, a love that transcended the boundaries of species and worlds. As she stood hand in hand with Zira, watching the luminary homeworld grow larger in the viewscreen, Ilara felt a sense of excitement for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew they would face them together, human and luminary, united by love and a shared vision of a universe full of wonders yet to be discovered. Triumph of humanity and love. As the stellar horizon descended through the atmosphere of the luminary homeworld, Ilara felt a mix of emotions she had never experienced before. Relief at their success, excitement for the future, and a deep, abiding love for Zira that seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment. The ship touched down in a clearing near the crystalline city, now familiar to the human crew. A large crowd of luminari had gathered to welcome them, their bioluminescent patterns creating a dazzling light show that rivaled the most spectacular fireworks display Ilara had ever seen on Earth. As the ship's ramp lowered, Ilara and Zira stepped out hand in hand, followed by Captain Riker and the rest of the human crew. The assembled luminari erupted in a chorus of musical tones that Ilara now recognized as cheers of celebration. The luminary council approached, their intricate light patterns conveying deep gratitude and respect. The lead counselor, an elder named Lyra, stepped forward. "You have saved our world," Lyra said, her tones resonating with emotion. "You have shown us the true meaning of cooperation and selflessness. From this day forward, humans will always be welcome among the luminari." Captain Riker nodded solemnly. "We're honored by your welcome. This mission has shown us that there is so much we can learn from each other." As the formal greetings concluded, the gathering transformed into a celebration unlike anything Ilara had ever seen. The entire city seemed to come alive with pulsing lights and melodic tones. Luminary and humans mingled freely, sharing stories and laughter that transcended the barriers of language and biology. Amidst the festivities, Ilara and Zira found a quiet moment alone. They stood on a balcony overlooking the city, the twin moons casting a soft glow over the landscape. "So," Ilara said, a hint of nervousness in her voice, "what happens now?" Zira's patterns shifted in what Ilara had come to recognize as a smile. "Now, my dear Ilara, we begin the real adventure." Over the next few months, the human luminary cooperation blossomed into a full-fledged cultural exchange program. Scientists from both species worked together, combining their knowledge to make groundbreaking discoveries. The merger of human technology with luminary bioluminescent energy opened up new frontiers in sustainable energy production and space exploration. Ilara found herself at the center of it all, working alongside Zira to bridge the gap between their two species. They faced challenges, of course. There were those on both sides who were wary of such close cooperation with an alien species. But for every voice of doubt, there were many more eager to embrace this new era of interstellar friendship. As for Ilara and Zira's relationship, it flourished despite the biological and cultural differences between them. They found ways to express their love that transcended physical limitations, their mental and emotional connection growing deeper with each passing day. One evening, As they watched a spectacular sunset from the top of the highest crystal spire in the city, Zira turned to Ilara with a proposition. "The Council has approved a new mission," she said, her patterns flickering with excitement. "They want to send a joint human luminary expedition to explore beyond our star systems, to seek out other life, other civilizations that might be in need of help or friendship." Ilara's heart raced at the idea, like a cosmic outreach program. Zira nodded. "Exactly. And they want us to lead it." For a moment, Ilara was speechless. The idea of venturing even further into the unknown, of potentially making first contact with other alien species, was both thrilling and daunting. But as she looked at Zira, saw the love and trust in those alien eyes, she knew her answer. "Yes," she said, pulling Zira close. "Yes to the mission, and yes to facing whatever the universe throws at us together." As they sealed their commitment with an embrace, their bioluminescence intertwining in a dazzling display, Ilara reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. She had come to the luminary world seeking knowledge and discovery. She had found those things, yes, but also so much more: love, purpose, and a vision of a future where the boundaries between species and worlds could be bridged by understanding and compassion. The twin moons rose over the horizon, bathing the crystal city in their soft light. In the streets below, humans and luminary continued their celebrations, their laughter and music rising up into the night sky. And high above, barely visible but ever present, the living asteroid that had once threatened their world now orbited peacefully, a silent guardian and a testament to what could be achieved when different species worked together. As Ilara and Zira stood there, wrapped in each other's arms and bathed in the light of alien moons, they both knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and they would face it all together, human and luminary, bound by love and united in their quest for knowledge and understanding. The future, with all its challenges and possibilities, awaited them, and as the stars twinkled in the alien sky, Ilara and Zira were ready to embrace it, hand in hand, their love a beacon of hope for all species across the cosmos.